Welcome to the Call Dad podcast with your host, Call Dad CEO and visionary Matt Posda, and featuring special guest, HR generalist Reba Walker.
All right.
Mr. Posda.
So, welcome back to another fine episode. We just had Connor on.
Okay.
And had some conversations about Connor. I want to get into all the changes that have been made, not only in HR, but recruiting, all that type of stuff. I would love to explore some of that. But before we do,
yes,
right, let's first introduce Miss Reba.
Nice to meet you guys.
And if you don't mind, just give quick who you are, what you're up to.
Yeah, so I've been with Call Dad since August. It was a fun adventure. I think when I came over, like, we had recruiting, but not like a defined like recruiting. It was kind of like all over the place. Like everybody just kind of like did their own thing. Yeah. Right. So it was really clear that we needed a vision. Like some formality, right? Where everybody had the same experience, everybody kind of went through the same pipeline, and we could plan better for the future, right? Yeah. So that was super fun. I came into this already knowing I had begged where I worked before, like, we need a training program.
All right, so where you worked before was a heating and air company.
It was.
Was that your first job in heating and air?
In heating and air, yes.
Okay.
I'd always been in the construction industry-based background. Right out of college, I went to work for a pest control company. Then I was fortunate enough to go to work for a fire protection company. Yeah. So I've always done, like, this kind of, I guess,
service-based model.
Yes, the kind of the same thing. So I got it, right? Like, I understood, like, this is how it works. This is the type of people that we need to make this work.
So for you, when you got recruited to the first HVAC company, it was the same as what you've seen before.
It felt very similar.
Pest control, fire protection, that whole thing.
Yeah. The only thing is different. It's like from pest control, it was a lot more similar to what we're doing here because it was more residential. We didn't have a whole lot of commercial. That was just the nature of their niche as well. And then, of course, when you went over to fire protection, everything we did was commercial. So I got really more into the business. Where I was at before I came here, the HVAC company, they had a good mix. There was a lot of new construction, commercial, business, and then they had the residential as well.
Whoa. When you say good mix,
that's relative.
Yes.
It was very medium. So whether that was good or bad, I don't know. It was very middle of the road.
Mix, yes.
Correct.
There was a healthy mix.
Yes.
Of disparate brand functions.
For them, they were smaller, so the commercial and the new construction is what carried them through the off season.
And to be clear, the only reason I say that is because Sky, I don't know how much you know about that history, but Sky was primarily a new construction business when I bought it. So I've navigated the whole world of commercial and construction and residential construction and all that fun stuff. So I've been there. I say that with empathy, not with...
It's just a different challenge, right? It's a completely different monster. It's the AR nightmare. Because my background was in accounting way before I got into HR, so I was very well versed in that.
Were you an accountant at the pest control and the fire protection?
Yes, both of the fire protection for sure. When I first started in pest control, I was finishing up my degree in college, so I kind of just worked there a little bit part time. They stuck me on the phones, accounting.
Okay, yeah.
So I was finishing up my degree, and they stuck me on the phones. They were like, "Oh my gosh, like, you're really good with people." Yeah. So
she gets it.
Yes, and I think I've just always liked people. And I think empathy is like a big thing. I could easily like transport myself to their situation, like what they were struggling with. So I did that actually for longer than I would have liked. It happens at a lot of companies. You're really good at something, even though you want to do something different, they'll pigeonhole you, but you're really good here. Why would you want to do anything different? So I did that for a while, and then I got over into accounting, and I saw that it was a smaller family-based company, great people, amazing humans. There just wasn't a lot of growth opportunity. I was really young and really hungry and eager. So I got a great opportunity to go like flex my accounting muscles when I went into fire protection.
Okay, so it wasn't as much that they wouldn't let you experience other things as much as it was they just didn't have the opportunity for it? Or
I think it's a little bit of both.
A good mix of both?
Yeah, the lady that had been doing like the bulk of their accounting stuff had been doing it since like the 1970s.
Yeah.
And they're just, I mean, she was going to be there for as long as she was going to be there. It's kind of a funny story. I was really like kind of frustrated and disappointed. I was so sad. She retired like a year after I left. And I was like, if I would have just waited.
Yeah. So it's so funny. So many times in talking to all the business owners, just various industries, all the stuff that we try to learn from and get better from, but especially big business, small business, it doesn't matter. There's always this mentality that managers have where they don't want to promote somebody because the fear of losing that person in that position.
Yes.
What they don't realize is that by not promoting that individual or not giving them the opportunity, they're going to look for it, and you're going to be in a worse position anyway. So like giving people opportunity and putting yourself in a disadvantageous position by potentially losing that person to another opportunity, like that's just servant leadership. That's what leaders should always do, is create opportunities for those around.
I agree. Them. And if you know that you have drive and ambition to be doing something else, the really cool sweet spot is when you get into already training your replacement. Yeah. Like you find the person on your team that you feel has the most potential, and you pour as much into them as you can, so that when that opportunity for you comes up and you're ready to move, you're like, no, it's not going to be a gap. I've got this person right over here, and I've already been working with them. Like I've been training them, like, coach, they're ready to go.
Yeah. That's another hard conversation, though, because, like, I find it all the time. Whenever I'm having that conversation with somebody, like, hey, you need to be training your replacement.
Yeah.
The initial response from the person is like,
whoa, what do you mean?
You trying to replace me?
But listen, I get it. I've had that conversation, too. I agree.
It's ego. It
is.
Yeah.
But if you can get out of your own way, imagine what a service you are to that. I mean, to that person can be. Like, they can help you. You're helping them grow. It makes you feel good. If you can get out of your own ego, it really is a great place, in my opinion, to get to.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, it's sad because I've seen so many companies and so many businesses where that happens, and the department or the business itself never progresses because they can't lose this one person and they end up losing, and then it's somebody else, and then it's so on and so forth. It never ends.
It doesn't. Yeah, and it
so
can be
the fact you brought that up, or actually, unfortunately, experienced that.
Yes.
But it was our benefit. So
I appreciate it. Mine too.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad she didn't retire early. Reba.
I know, right?
Okay.
Everything happens for a reason. We're on the path that we're supposed to be on.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
But I couldn't be more excited to be here.
So you moved to fire protection.
I did
at that time, and then that was. You were saying that's an accounting position as well initially.
Yes. I did mostly like project accounting. Like it was a lot. It was very heavy new construction. So I got really into like the the contract from start to finish, being involved with the lien waivers, progress billing.
Is it like architectural billing, all that, whatever that is, A1?
Yeah. So I got really deep involved in that. Did that for roughly about a year. And then I got a little bit more involved in like the corporate accounting, got involved in a lot of the purchasing, helping them, solve a lot of their inventory issues. And we got brand new software and things that we were learning. So, and I've always been, I would say tech savvy enough to make myself dangerous.
Yeah.
But so where everybody else had been there for years and were like not happy to start a new software or new accounting procedure, I was like,
change bad.
Yeah, no, I'm the opposite. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. Let me see what all this thing can do.
Yeah.
So I kind of, just dove into learning that process and that, software. So that organically opened some doors. I was like, hey, I baited it. Like, it's great. It's not that bad.
And you've proven that to me because I'll give you an example. Like, even I was joking earlier, this segment's brought to you by Who Hire, and then I'm going to reference Who Hire now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. We definitely need to tag him. And,
yes. That team is amazing.
So, but I bring this up because I had a fear initially when we stumbled upon Who Hire. We had just finished some of that recruiting module and all that type. So we had just built this out, and then I was like, we're going to tell Reba that we're going to...
By the way, you just learned what you're doing, and we're going to completely throw it to the wind.
Rip that. Yeah. And you rolled 1,000% with the punches. And again, kudos to you because you did you've proven that to me that you will take any opportunity
Absolutely.
to potentially though.
If there's a better way to do it, like let's talk about it.
Yeah. But that was pretty cool the way you roll with the punches on that. So thank you for doing
it was challenging, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And again, like talking about dropping nods, that team over there's been great. So they've been phenomenal to work with.
I'm sure there's some other things that you wish that we would upgrade, but we get
all in due time, right?
All right. So accounting, is that something that you knew you wanted to get into, or was that just one of those things in college you just...
It happened in college. I went into college thinking that I wanted to do something along like the medical field. My parents had always preached to me, they're very, very safe. They're not adventurous people at all. So it was always like, pick a job that's going to always be around, that's not going to ever go away. So like people are never going to stop getting sick. My dad would say all the time, like find something in that arena. So I thought, okay. So I dug into it and I thought, I think I'll go to school for nursing. And then I kind of started that. I kind of became a professional student for a long time, really. I have like almost 7 years dumped into college.
Good nurse, by the way.
My parents said that. The problem is that I didn't realize how much I wouldn't like the sight of blood. Because you don't know.
That's a hard stop.
So thank goodness into the nursing program they make you go do clinicals and you have to spend time. And I was like, whoa, this is not what I thought this was going to be. Like, oh my goodness. Like, no, thank you. So I, thank goodness, had developed a really good relationship with one of my professors that happened to be an accounting teacher that I had met in college. And she was like, Reba, there's like, these different sides of your brain that were just programmed to work really well one or another. She said, I don't know if it was on your radar, but like, you really picked this up and ran with it way faster than a lot of students do, especially ones that are going into like this type of field. What do you think about it? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I mean, math was always, I've kind of fashioned myself in the beginning as being a very black and white person. Like it's either right or wrong. I'm not open to interpretation. So I liked math a lot. So I kind of got into that and kind of went down that road. And unfortunately, and fortunately in some ways, when I'm just that person, when I commit to it, like I'm going to dive all the way in. So I was in at that point. I was like, okay, I know I can't do blood, so this is the path we're going. I wish, I say this to... I wonder
how many went from nursing school to...
I don't know. I don't think there was that many of us, no.
I'm sure there's some accountant out there who did a statistical analysis on that. But
there probably is. We'll have to Google that or chat GPT it.
It's funny because I did, like, similarly, I found accounting in high school, and then I was like, but I was passionate. Like, I wanted to be an accountant. I thought that I knew it. And then I did my first accounting internship, and I was like, it was like blood for me.
Yes.
I saw what being an accountant actually was. It was like, nope, I'm out.
Well, I quickly learned when I got into doing the fire protection, I'd gone down, I'd worked at a satellite office. I got to go down to Duluth, Georgia, which is right outside of Atlanta, right? And it's where like the cubicle garden lived right of all the other accountants. And I remember a few of them looking like at me like, why do you not stop talking? Like, just go hit your spreadsheet. Stop. And I was like, but I want to know everybody. Like... And then, so I think that kind of planted the seed, like, maybe there's something missing out of my career here. You got that hunger, like, I don't really, like, I mean, I'm good at it, but just because you're good at it doesn't mean that it feeds you, right?
There's a level of taking your passion with you, but there's some things that you can't, no matter how hard you try, be passionate about. And that's what happened to me. Maybe if I had a different experience at a different firm, it would have been completely different, but like, it was like, take these boxes and get them in this computer. Yes. And that was all I did.
And that's
all day.
And you're like, if this is the rest of my life, what am I doing? So, I got very fortunate to kind of get, I helped a lady in the HR department. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. You guys pay people to talk on the phone to people and just like interact? What? This is a thing? Like I didn't even know this was a thing. So that was pretty cool. And once I had that, it unfortunately was a little later in life than I would have liked for it to be. But I still got to have that spark, and I was like, this is what like feeds my soul.
But like, all right. So again, to say like my experience with accounting, not to project it on you, but at the end of the day, accounting's still the backbone of finance.
Yes.
So the fact that I have a practical understanding
Yes.
of accounting really helped me in my career path and what I'm doing now. Even though I joke like
Yes.
I don't use half my finance skills or accounting skills, there's still a lot of applicable application,
Yes.
right, that comes into play.
Same
with accounting and HR.
Yes.
Like
very much
yeah,
so.
yeah.
People are people, but if you understand like the data and the numbers and the trends,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
like it's really hard to take people and
Yeah.
turn them into understanding numbers. I
Yeah.
think it's easier to do it the other way around,
Yeah.
right?
And so much of, compliance related stuff and all that ties into some of those metrics and
Yes.
understanding the systems and
Yes.
so
Which I'm lucky that I got to like hone in those skills when I was doing like a lot of like contract negotiation and contract billing. Like
Yeah.
you get way down in the weeds and really get into the
Yeah.
like wait a minute.
Okay, you want to talk about having proper T's crossed and I's dotted. Because if you
Yes.
miss one small thing on those billings,
It's huge.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
can kill your cash flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're back at square one.
100%. Or if you don't turn in certain paperwork on time, or what do
Yeah.
these people need? Is our insurance thresholds enough? Like here we're on the hook for a job and now it's going to cost us a ton of extra money.
You're like,
to
whoops,
You didn't have
You
the
didn't read
proper
that.
insurance level.
Yeah.
you
should- it was
accepted my
there.
COI.
Right. It was right there. Did you not read it? You signed it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I can empathize
Yeah.
with that again. Nothing like getting a 90-day payment cycle restarted.
Yes. Especially when you weren't expecting it,
Yeah.
right? You're like
Yeah.
30 days in, you're like,
Yeah.
here's your bill. And they're like, whoa, wait a
Yeah.
minute. Did you
All
read
right.
that?
So you got a little taste of HR at Fire Protection.
I did.
And then why'd you end up leaving there? What caused that?
Yeah, so I think it was kind of the same thing. I got a fire lit under me, like, oh my gosh, this HR thing is like a thing. Like,
Yeah.
I really want to do this. So it was actually a unique situation. There was a lady that I'd worked with in the past, and we were really close friends.
Yeah.
She hit me up out of the blue on Facebook. She's like, hey, like I know a person, and they're in a unique situation. They've just acquired a HVAC company. They need somebody.
Run.
That should have been
Run.
clue number 1, 100%. You know now what you didn't know then.
Yeah.
She said
You did not want to be around me that first year when
Oh
I
my
was learning the
gosh.
business.
Yeah, it was. I stepped into a whirlwind of a
Yeah.
nightmare over
Yeah.
there. But they were great people. It was just
Yeah.
they left a hot mess.
I was a good person. I just didn't know what I was doing.
Right, and you're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Now, see, the opposite. They had like the small business got bought out by great big giant business. Yeah. So that was a lot. But she said they need somebody with both. They need somebody to come in and like overhaul, and be a part of the corporate HR world. I had at that point, been kind of lucky and had done some training and had gone to some colleges and taken some things. So I felt confident enough that I knew enough about what I was doing there that I could be a benefit and an asset. And by the way, their accounting lady quit like 2 weeks ago and just dropped the ball.
Yeah.
So what happens? You get over there and like money rules, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up once again kind of getting into a little bit more of that position where I was doing a whole lot more accounting than I was HR stuff. And I mean, like again, like I can do this. Like I'm comfortable here. I know this. I know what I'm doing. It's not what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
I'd rather be doing something completely different.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate, when a couple of my friends ended up over here first, that had been at a company, that we were there together, and oh my God, they just loved it. And I was very fortunate that I got the opportunity to talk to Matt Stewart. And I was very honest with him, and I was like, listen, here's what I don't want. I don't want to put myself in that situation again. I tend to be a person that doesn't say no very easily. So if somebody on the team is like, hey, can you step in over here? And then I do, like, I just don't put me over there on the accounting island again and leave me, please.
Yeah.
So,
which, speaking of, I figured this would be a good time in front of everybody to let you know that you've been promoted in the account.
I love Barb, and I will help her do anything, but...
Wrong answer. That's awesome. Yeah, again, that's a tough thing, especially when you have relationships with people where, they'll just say
and you
yes,
can help.
And it's tough.
Yeah, and you're
so I get it.
Yeah, we were actually organically talking one time, Matt and I and he was talking about accounting stuff, and I voiced my opinion. He was like, "Remember what you told me?
Yeah,
don't even start talking about it if you don't want to do it." I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm not."
I see you in our HR meetings sometimes where you want.
I do, and it's so hard to you don't want to go there. Stop talking.
All right, so then you fell back into accounting.
Yes.
Right. So were you still handling the HR side as well?
Yes, they were just in that. It was very segmented because here they're based out of Chicago, Illinois, so they're huge, right? Yeah. But here we were just over here, and we were hiring maybe 1 or 2 people a month, maybe. And it pick up a little bit right before we got into summer, which I think a lot of HVAC companies can empathize with. But it was not I was still doing way more of the accounting stuff than what I really in my soul wanted to be doing. So it was a beautiful opportunity. And now when we kind of talked, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a lot more over here." I had no idea how much more.
Well, who would have guessed that recruiting position would have been as intense? Well, I mean, I think we would have guessed, right? I think we told you what we were trying to accomplish and all these classes that we were trying to fill and all the dynamic of onboarding all those individuals. I could be wrong, but I hope that Matt did a good job of articulating at least the growth initiative that we had.
He did. We just didn't talk numbers. I went from 1 or 2 people a month to sometimes I processed 5 to 10 people a week, and that's not even talking about outside of Dad U, right? Because we bring basically 20 to 30 people on at one time, right? So it was wow. I was walking, now we're running. We skipped the whole jogging, we skipped the conditioning, now we're running. But it was great. I just dove in and said, gosh, let's do this. So
is that really what you said?
For most days, yes.
There were some days.
There were some days at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm still trying to organize, oh my gosh.
Onboarding systems, snafus.
And organize everything that I thought, what have I done to myself? I asked for this.
So what was the driving force for you? Was it just the fact that you knew people that were here that were saying things?
I think that's what opened the opportunity. I think we all know, there's a couple big players in the HVAC game, right? And you see the growth and you see the opportunity that happens over there. And I was like, man, I don't want to step into a machine, right? Because that's just not who I am. But if there was this up and coming, right? So I always knew in my mind, if there's up and coming, they've got some processes down, they've figured out some of the hard stuff, but there's still a lot of room to be involved and, get to be, part of the growth instead of just there after the growth and all that stuff. That would be really cool and exciting. So I was very fortunate.
Plane is in the air. It may not have seats or windows. Maybe
we're
one
hanging
engine.
out, and still tightening screws as we go.
But it's in the air.
It's in the air, and we're going. Yes.
Okay. All right. So you get on board. You're obviously, I assume, with that comment that you just made, the opportunity is placed before you of hey, this is an opportunity to own a department. It's opportunity to create more. I feel like I've said opportunity too many times, but more through opportunity will bestow more opportunity, right?
And it was a really cool way. We kind of knew from the beginning. I knew where my strengths and weaknesses were, but to be able to kind of get to be a part of all of it, to become more, for lack of a better term, well-rounded, right? I was super excited about that because when you work for a major corporation, they are very quick to say, stay in your lane. No. Stay over there. Stay over there in your lane. So I was super excited about that.
You have to ask Frank.
Yes. And then Frank's going to call the lawyer.
Call other Frank.
And then we're going to, have 10 people sign off on it in 3 meetings before we make a decision.
Okay. As opposed to us, who's probably sometimes the opposite. It's like, all right, go do it. You're like, whoa.
I had this like idea, and I'll say, hey, like, what do you think about this? And he's like, yeah, just do it. And I was like, no, wait a minute. I thought we were concept, like, I thought we were still shooting ideas. And he's like, yeah, no, like, just, are we there yet? Did you do it?
Yeah. So you've heard me say this. A lot of people probably have, but it's that dynamic of, I would rather be 100% fast and 70% right, which is a dangerous place to be.
Yes.
Because it means that you're going to make mistakes. We're going to have failures. We're going to cause problems. But it also means that we can make corrective measures and we can get that plane built faster than maybe somebody else would.
Yeah. Can I just say, from a personal growth standpoint, as somebody that came from an accounting world where it's exactly the opposite, everything has to be 100% right. Yeah. It has been great for my own personal growth. To get to be a part of that with you guys. Because you're right. If you're just standing still fretting and making sure that every little thing, I've been reading the Dichotomy Leadership book. And when he talks about like packing his backpack, and you're packing your backpack so much because you don't want to miss anything or leave anything out. And like the whole team is like already like halfway down the road, and you're still back there packing your backpack. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I was like an overpacker. I think I'm an overpacker.
Yeah. By the time that you apply the solution, it doesn't even matter.
You've already passed it. Yeah. Or it's past you.
Yeah.
Let's hit on culture for a minute.
Yeah.
Right? Because you know this. I mean, you've sat with Matt and I enough times. You've talked to Matt enough to understand how important it is to us. What was your perspective of culture when you got here?
Amazed. Culture is king here. I don't like to we're talking about name dropping here, so y'all cut this out if we can't use it. But one of my favorite.
As long as it's me. If it. Yeah, that's it.
One of my favorite things.
And even if it's not me, we can go ahead and put.
Yeah.
She'll be like, Matt,
just keep moving. All the stuff over there.
Those lips match what she was saying.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I messed you up.
That's okay.
Amazing, you were about to say.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about a couple of the big name companies out there that do recruiting and training and onboarding really well is that everybody gets the same experience, right? And it goes back to culture. Mm-hmm. So for some people, it's a cute sign that you hang on the wall and it just hangs there. Or you had like a meeting and we all just sit down and talk about like all the cool things that sound good on paper or sound like good things that we can throw out to customers to make them want to do business with us. That's not what we do here. Yeah. It truly is from day to day and how we do everything that we do at the forefront of what we do and how we do it. Yeah. I tell that people that, in recruiting and interviews I have all the time, like, listen, I know you've worked at that place where they are going to give you these pillars or they're going to give you these mission statements and it's just going to be that cool thing that they're going to quiz you about once a year, or whatever. It's not what we do here. It truly is that you won't even know it. Like, you'll be just doing things and you're like, wait a minute, that's a pillar.
Yeah.
Because it's just
small acts.
Yes. Why are they aggravating me about tucking in my shirt or pulling somebody's trash can up from the road? Like, what is this? Like, who nitpicks on that stuff? Because it's who we are. Yeah.
Go that extra mile.
Absolutely. Yes, because it matters.
Yeah.
So
how does it tell me? And again, I'm not asking you, to be clear, to bash anybody, nor am I asking you to be embellish us to the point of we're not what you're saying. But like, if you had to compare what our culture is compared to another heating and air company, what would you say is the biggest distinguishing factor? It doesn't have to be one thing, just like what is, outside of what you were just talking about, like what are some things that were shocking to you?
The first thing that comes to mind, and I've had this conversation with a few people like that I've met throughout the industry that are probably like related, and they'll ask me that question: why are you so much happier? Like, they can tell a difference in me personally, just through our friendships and our relationships. The thing I think that stands out the most to me here is we're not perfect. We don't claim to be perfect. We don't pretend to be perfect. But what we are is very reactive when something's going the wrong way. Yeah. Right? If we see a process and the process is not working, we won't drag our feet about it and make a huge mountain out of a molehill of a simple process that could just make things a lot easier for techs in the field or CSRs answering the phone or whatever it is. Yeah. if somebody comes to the table and they bring an idea or they fill out a survey and they're saying, listen, this process about my job is making my life difficult.
Yeah.
Not only do we care, but we'll switch it and just go with it. And so it can be a little scary for those, people that, are like me, that tend to be a little like honed in on processes and things like that. But it's really super exciting, too. And I think that the empowerment that gives our employees and the people that work here is bar none to what it builds into our culture. This is an open, we can communicate about it, we can talk about it, but it's not just lip service. We're not just going to pat you on the head and the HR department say, that's a great idea, buddy, and it never goes past there. We're actually going to sit down in a meeting and we're going to talk about it and say, how do we fix this?
Yeah.
Is this fixable? Is this something that it's worth us diving into? But we're definitely going to try.
Yeah, you said empower, and that's always, it's a tough thing to try to articulate to people, where you do have a voice, you do have
100%.
the power to speak up, whether that's for yourself through PDPs or whether that's through
surveys.
Yeah, some experience with regard to your manager, a customer, a process, service type, whatever it is. We want that feedback.
Yeah, and if you didn't share that feedback and you allowed yourself to get to the point of frustration where you didn't see opportunity here anymore, which if we made something about your life, challenging or uncomfortable, we'll own that. But also want to empower you to own your part in it too. Did you speak up? Did you follow all the channels that you could have followed?
Yeah.
Did you give us an opportunity? To maybe, even if we couldn't fix your problem, to sit down and have a candid conversation about our why versus your why, so that we can change our perspective.
Yeah, and that's a survey dynamic. I always picture that as kind of a pot of water.
Yeah.
Right, and it's supposed to pick up the little simmers in the water before, both good and bad. Right.
Get the bubbles before the bowl. Right.
Correct. Because what ends up happening at most companies or in most people is they just put a lid on it, and they refuse to address it because, they don't care about me, or they're not going to say anything to me, and then they just complain in the trenches to the other guy, and it's like
it spreads negativity.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I can't save a pot of water when it's at a roaring boil. It's just not.
Right.
Nothing I can do.
Right. It's already over all over on the stove.
It's too much reactionary. And the only way or part that I would slightly disagree is we're trying to, and the only reason I say I disagree, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're trying to get there. But we're also trying to shift from reactionary to proactive.
Yes.
Where we can get ahead of some of those things. Because that's always been one of my biggest frustrations, is sometimes we're too reactionary to things. It's like, man, we saw the simmer. We need to jump. We need to be more proactive.
Yeah.
So yes, I appreciate your comment. You're right, but this is me saying, darn it, we could be better.
Yeah.
But no, the ability to have a voice.
Yes.
And impact change. I mean, hopefully you saw that early and often.
Very much so.
On board.
When I first came into recruiting, because we didn't have a designated recruiter before, there were a lot of processes that I was like, oh my gosh, this is frustrating, right?
Yeah.
So we would sit in there on our one-on-one meetings like we do with a lot of our employees. And I would sit in there with Matt and we would have these hard talks. And what I appreciated more than anything, and I hope that all of our employees get this with their managers, is he didn't have a problem telling me no.
Yeah.
But he would always go, and here's why.
Yeah.
Or here's my perspective on that. Let's just, talk about it and work it out. I see your frustration. This is why we're doing it this way. And then I'm like, oh, okay.
Let me explain how this came to be.
Yeah. So if nothing else, then I'm not just sitting in the, wondering, what's going to happen or whatever. But just knowing that, we're going to have a tough conversation about it and be okay with it. We don't have to agree on everything, but we respect each other enough to have the conversation about it.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's hands down my favorite thing about our culture here.
Yeah. I agree. I personally agree.
Yeah, love it.
That's why I'm still here.
Love it.
All right. So you obviously did not take an accounting position here for opportunity to grow. You took a recruiting position.
Yes.
But you took it with the intent of opportunity to grow.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Did it happen faster or slower?
Much faster than I anticipated.
Yeah.
even though we had talked about it and we kind of knew, when the day that happened, I was like, what? Hold on. I just got my groove here.
I just got everything figured out. This is going to be too easy for somebody else.
I just got this. Yeah. Well, but I was like, I just got this kind of started. What do you mean? Yeah. Like, I've just got the process. And he's like, that's exactly what I mean. Good job. Yeah. You've got the groundwork laid. Let's move on. I was like, okay.
Yeah. So you went from a place where you had to fight for an opportunity that was never presented.
Yes.
To somewhere where I assume in your PDP you were mentioning things that you wanted to work on or progress to all of a sudden over kind of night it happens.
Yes. And it happened very quickly. And talk about awkward. There's no more awkward position in the world to recruit for than your own replacement, right? Like, wow. Yeah. I'd just gotten kind of comfortable and, felt like I really good at, I know what conversations to have and know exactly what we're looking for and everything else. And I thought, oh, snap, what am I looking for?
We just learned with Connor that it's actually called a refreshment. He was talking about his Chick-fil-A days, and they're not allowed to call them refills. So you refreshed your recruiting position.
I love that. With a better, like, in the trenches version. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And he's going to be better than you because you built all the systems through which he's operating.
And it's so cool. It organically came out when he and I just randomly, did he tell you the story how I surprised him? I just showed up and I was like, hey, by the way.
He said that you had to call him beforehand
Matt scared him to death. He's like, by the way, be here on your day off at 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. HR's coming to meet with you. And I was like, why did you say that to him?
We'll have a witness here as well.
He's going to be terrified. Oh my gosh. Now he's got to think about that for 3 days. Why is HR coming to see me? Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is terrifying.
I'm so glad you called him because he was definitely
Yeah. And I was like, don't worry. I just want to come down and have some a chat with you. I understand you're looking for some other opportunities. I just want to get to know you. I want to know what you're looking for. See if there's something that we may or may not have in the pipeline. Even if we don't have it now, maybe we have something coming down the road. But it was super cool. We were sitting there talking, and Connor, I'm so fortunate. He is a gem. Yeah. But the really cool thing that we organically figured out in that couple of hours that we sat just talking and getting to know each other was that some of the areas that I'm, really comfortable with and feel really good about, he wanted to grow in. Yeah. And the other areas on the other side that I've always, I've never been in a crawl space. I have to have these talks with people before we interview them. Are you sure you're okay with being in a crawl space?
I hear it's very scary.
Yes. Yeah. I've never been in a crawl space. I don't know what that's really like. Yeah. But, Connor being on the other side of that.
We can arrange that, by the way, Reba.
No.
It's going to be a new stipulation.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I'm glad I came in before we made the people start riding with techs every day, because that's not happening. If I could be in a crawl space or an attic, I'd probably be one of the best-selling techs out there.
Be is there blood in there?
No. But there's bugs and snakes. No.
That's funny. All right. So, Connor's. Well, also, if anyone listening to this didn't pick up how excited you are for finding your replacement.
Yeah.
That's, again, back to this train your replacement dynamic. It's you should be so excited for that day that you find your replacement, because it means what? It means more potential opportunity for you, especially if you want to grow. Even if you don't want to grow, giving somebody an opportunity to go grow somewhere else. There's endless.
And it also, if you care about that person, you want to invest into them. If you know that they have a thought process, or they have, an idea that that's where they want to go, then, care enough about them to test them or train them before you throw them out there. So all the way around, it's a win-win. And I don't know about you, but every person that I've ever trained, I learn just as much from them as they can learn from me. So why not? You're always making yourself better, right?
And it's that dynamic of people don't want to train people because they're scared that they're going to do it better. And
I hope he does it better.
Wonder if they do it worse.
What does that say about you if they do it worse, right?
Or who does that? Who has to clean it up, or who has to deal with the repercussions?
Very much
so. Who has to deal with the fact that back to opportunity. Like, you're not going to create opportunity. You're not going to grow.
Yes.
You're going to be in the same, losing that person, you're going to be in the same position. Or not having somebody who doesn't have the skill set to do what you're asking them to do.
Yeah.
And then blaming that person for not being able to do it.
Fair. But
Nobody
the cooler thing is when they're really wildly successful and you sit back because that's somebody that you believe in and you see them be wildly. I hope he's more successful at it than I was. I'd be like, that's so cool. Like, I remember when Connor was so nervous about it and I was like, yes, you can. We can do this. Yeah. To see him like even grow and be way better at it would be like the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
I hope he's way better than me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that passion that you have for that, I just
thank you.
It's infectious because I agree the same way. Like I just want people to succeed.
Absolutely.
And,
Is there any cooler feeling in the world? Like,
no.
Even though I wasn't here for the beginning, there's nothing I love better than hearing all of our apprentices that have come up and moved up through the ranks talk about that first day when they knew nothing about HVAC. Like, they didn't know the first thing about it. And now they're doing those ride-alongs, and they're doing the training, and they're doing the teaching. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So, like, Todd and I talk about this often. He reminds me of it. I said to him once that, my dream has to be big enough for everyone else's dream to fit in. And that sounds egotistical or like self-centered. But it's like, I have to be motivated by other people's like quest for their life goals.
Yeah.
And if I'm not, then I can't design our strategy or vision around that. So that's why like Todd is so passionate about that and so good at that, and just being able to actually cheer individual success and hope for people to better themselves or better opportunities, whatever it may be. I don't know, it's just it's a mentality that you have to take joy in other people's success. And
I agree.
Shockingly enough, it seems like some people don't feel that way.
I know, and
some cultures aren't designed in a way where that's rewarded.
I agree. Yeah, I can agree with that. And everybody's different, right? But I don't know. That's what feeds me, is seeing everybody else get to be successful and to get those opportunities. And, to find that thing that while we're perfectly, I guess because I was fortunate enough for it to happen to me, while I'm very capable, I'm just going to throw some random examples out there. While I'm very capable of being an awesome service technician, we'll use Connor, for example. Yeah. He knew that there was something missing. I can go out here and I can talk to customers and I can, hit all my performance metrics and have great KPIs and be a really solid, good technician. Yeah. But I just feel like there's something missing. Yeah. So let's tap into that. Yeah. Because I say all the time when I'm talking to people that we're interviewing, when you are your best you and you're showing up for work as your best you and you're happy and you're infectious like this and you're like, gosh, we can't harness that, right? And sell it or buy it. Like, that's what we want over here at Call Dad. That's what our culture is. That's what we want our customers to experience and everything else. So we want to find whatever it is that passion is of yours, tap into it, and see if we can, meet you there.
Yeah. See, like, how many pillars did you just hit on there? And it's like, you didn't even have to say it. It's just, So I couldn't have said that any better myself.
Well, thank you.
So thank you for that. That is awesome.
Awesome.
All right.
I love our culture.
Closing thoughts here? Anything you want to hit on?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really important for me, and whether you're internal or external, if you already work here, if you've not worked here, just remember that, there's always opportunity. There's always, please don't forget that, if you come to work at Call Dad, or if you, just were thinking about it and it didn't work out this time, never stop seeking what it is that you want to do and advocating for that, and knowing that jobs don't have to be the mundane, oh my gosh, I gotta get up and go to work. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like that. So, keep tapping into it, keep talking about it, exploring it through your PDPs, and just know, even if it's not there now, it could be. So let's start talking about it.
What's crazy to me that I didn't have this realization until speaking with Connor, was when he was going through the application process, we had a management change there, and his application kind of got pushed to the wayside.
Oh, wow.
And so I didn't realize that. So what you just said there is hilarious because he had to have the tenacity and, push to get it back in front of the right people. And he did that. Like, if he didn't do that,
probably would have fell through the cracks and we would have never got to have Connor.
The reason I say the irony of it is now his job is assuring.
Don't let it fall through the cracks.
It's assuring that never happens, right? So it's kind of funny how that works. But it's the same thing with, like, the PDPs are there.
Mm-hmm.
But if Connor didn't take it seriously, if you didn't take what we're trying to achieve seriously,
yes,
the opportunity would have never been there for you because you would have never been in a position to realize that you wanted it, or even if you did want it, we would have never realized that it was something you were interested in.
Exactly. The really quick, funny, organic story. We were sitting in there, and Matt's like, "What do you want?
Yeah.
What are you looking for?" And I kind of mocked a couple other employees. I was like, if we could take this employee and we could take this employee and we could, like, merge them together, right? I want this from this person and this from this person. We were kind of like, building a bear. We're building a recruiter in his office. And I said, this is what I want here and this is what I want here. And it was really cool. And because of the PDPs and because you guys are so plugged into the PDPs and you want to be a part of it and it means so much to you, he was like, have you ever thought about Connor? And I was like, I don't even know Connor. Yeah. No, who's Connor? But I want to hear about Connor. And then we called Adam, like, from his office, which is Connor's boss. Yeah. And so we called him and we're like, what do you think? And he's like, wow, I would have never. I knew we were looking for a recruiter. That just didn't come across, because there's just the natural progression, right? Yeah. You're a technician, then you're a service manager or a location manager or a regional whatever those. There's so many other opportunities here. Yeah. So open your mind, really start honing in on what, out of the tasks that I do on a daily basis, this is my favorite question to ask people whenever I'm interviewing them. Out of all the things that make up your job, right? We have the list that we're, like, super excited to do. And then you have the list that you're like, oh, I just got to get through this, right? Because it's just part of the job. Like, I've just got to put my big kid pants on and just get this part done, even though it stinks. What are those things that hit your, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to do this. If I could only do these things every day, all day for a job, what does that look like? Yeah. So focus in on that and let's see what that looks like or turns into. Yeah.
I think if this was Sesame Street, the letter of the day would be O, and the word of the day would be opportunity.
There you go. Yes.
Because I think between both of us, we probably said it 400 times.
Love it. But let's hashtag that. Yeah, exactly. Opportunity at Call Dad.
Opportunity. All right, awesome. Well, thank you, Reba. I appreciate you sitting down and doing this with me.
It was a great time.
Hopefully, it was easier than what you anticipated.
It was less nerve-wracking than thinking I was going to come in here.
I think everybody's going to love your story, and I think again the amount of people that already know you because you onboarded them,
or worked with them before.
Correct, but to see your progression, I think that's awesome, and thank you for being a culture carrier for us.
Thank you, thank you guys for having a great culture to carry.
Okay, awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye.